Baker Mayfield played through injury last year, did not play well. The Browns did not meet expectations. If you look at Baker's first 4 years, how many of them are undoubted successes?
Everything I've been told is that the relationship between the Browns and Baker Mayfield is shot and isn't repairable.
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland. There's a lot of ups and downs and a ton of learning experiences that forever keep with me.
It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Alan Hahn in for Max. We're brought to you by Straight Talk at the $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk Wireless. Do we want to hear from Baker Mayfield? We have no choice. We will. And we haven't really heard from him lately. And the Browns situation, of course, at quarterback remains one that you don't know if they're going to have their QB1 because of the Deshaun Watson, that the hearing continuing now for another day today that he's going through with the NFL to see what kind of discipline he will be getting. And we had discussed earlier this week about, well, if they don't have Baker for a whole season, which Dan Graziano told us he has heard that could be a possibility or something the NFL is pushing, well, then what do? Jacoby Brissett? They have Baker on the roster, so why not just go with him while you have him? Baker talked about that. He was at his camp in Norman, Oklahoma, and he talked with some media about that and more. And here's what he said, which is very interesting about his relationship right now with the Cleveland franchise.
I think it's been pretty obvious the mutual decision on both sides is to move on. You know, I'm thankful for my 4 years in Cleveland. There's a lot of ups and downs and a ton of learning experiences that I'll forever keep with me. Teammates and friends and relationships that I'll have for a lifetime. And the support staff in Cleveland, the people of Cleveland, it's a great sports town. So I'm thankful for it. And there's no resentment towards the city of Cleveland by any means.
But I think a lot of people think if they didn't have a quarterback for the next year, would there be any chance of reconciliation there?
No, I think for that to happen, there would have to be some reaching out. But we're ready to move on, I think, on both sides.
Ready to move on, although he did leave the caveat of they'd have to reach out to me. How do we feel about this?
Oh, I'm just looking at these highlights. Jeez.
Every time you do this, Key. Every time you do this, you start to cringe.
I need to know, though, what is going through your brain as you're watching these highlights?
Disgusting.
I just, it's one of them deals where you're asking me to take that as a quarterback. Now, I don't want that. I'd rather just go with Jacoby Brissett. If you're showing me what I just seen on our television, oh, no, man, But look,
was that bad B-roll?
It's very bad B-roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Setting of the feet, the getting out of the pocket, it just didn't look cool. And we didn't do that as a setup or anything like that. It's just video that we rolled. Baker Mayfield, it's the best thing for him to do is just move on. Go find somewhere else that fits it suits him and fits him perfectly, that he can learn from mistakes that he made in Cleveland, and just turn the page. There's no need of revisiting going back to the Cleveland Browns or anything like that. And he said it, both sides have moved on. And there'll be a lot of reaching out, not only from a front office standpoint, but there are players in that locker room that completely have looked at Baker Mayfield as a ghost at this point in time.
Yeah, Key, I'm with you, man. And the more I thought about it over the evening, Andrew Berry, the GM, has always struck me as somebody who's been very practical and measured, right, in his approach. Even when you hear him articulate his thoughts on players, even his thoughts on Baker Mayfield throughout the course of last season, he always said the right thing. You felt like he was creating the right strategy for where he wanted this team to go. Now, with that being said, Baker Mayfield said something, I don't hold any resentment towards the city of Cleveland, and gave you all these reasons about why he loved Cleveland, which led me to believe or make the assumption that there wasn't resentment towards the city and the fans, but there was a resentment towards the front office and the way they handled it.
Well,
so understanding Andrew Berry, I don't see Andrew Berry or the Browns coming back to Baker Mayfield with their tail between their legs saying, hey, we apologize for the way things went. Like they are secure in their decision moving forward.
And he should be upset at the front office. Baker Mayfield should be upset at the front office, especially if they were not transparent with him throughout the entire process. Okay? When you're transparent with somebody in the National Football League, I can't tell you the way it works in the NBA, but I can only tell you the way it works in the National Football League. As soon as that season is over with, they know if there's a quarterback that's going to be available, that there's a chance and a possibility that they're going to be in a quarterback market. They know that. And transparency is, hey, man, sit down with me and tell me, hey, if something comes available that's better, we may take a look at this. Doesn't mean we don't want you. It just means that we may want to upgrade at this position. We still love you, and we still think that you're going to be amazing for us if we don't get that other guy. You have to have that big boy conversations in the National Football League with guys. And too many times, front offices and coaches, they don't do that. They pat you on the back and tell you, hey, man, see you in the offseason. Meanwhile, they working it at the draft. They working it at the combine. They trying to figure out how to untangle something. Just tell me what the deal is. And I have a whole lot more respect for you. In terms of Andrew Berry being calculated, hey, look, if he was a guy who was measured, he wouldn't put Baker Mayfield in this position, nor would he have gone out and done some of the other things that they've done in the offseason. That's just my opinion.
I can't remember who it was.
Hold on one second.
Go ahead, Jay. Yeah.
So, Key, that's an interesting point. I just want to clarify with you. So, has your view of Andrew Berry, considering everything with Deshaun Watson and some other moves this offseason, has that become a little bit diminished? Because you didn't agree with my point that he's been.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's all on Andrew Berry, the general manager, because he has to get the sign off from the owner and Jimmy Haslam. Him and his wife have to sign off on exactly what those decisions are going to be for this football team and whoever they bring in, whoever they sign, whoever they let go. So it's not all on Andrew Berry, not all of it.
I'm with me. If I were owner, I wouldn't, frankly, as much as, Deshaun Watson is talented, I wouldn't have made that move, but I understand how the NFL works and the fact that it's an arms race essentially to get that type of talent. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
and the thing, Alan and Jay, that look, okay, is Deshaun Watson a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield? You damn right he is.
We all agree.
You damn skippy he is. But it's not like Baker Mayfield 2 seasons ago, prior to this past season, with the little bit of injuries that knocked him in and out of games, wasn't a good quarterback that had them on the brink of beating Kansas City and going on to the AFC Championship game, And so when I look at that, I say to myself, what would Baker Mayfield have been if he was from the start of the season to the end of the season healthy like he was the year before? Where would this team be at? That's how I look at it, and they clearly felt that going in another direction was the best way for them. But you can't argue with Deshaun. You just can't argue with the talent.
I'm with you. The only thing I would say, Key, about the Baker point, and I was on the same page with you. I still kind of am. I'm just, and you brought this point up multiple times. The fact that none of his former players have spoken up about we want him here, I think speaks volumes about how he was seen in the locker room. That's how I feel.
Well, yeah, because that goes all the way back to the OBJ situation, all the way back to the end. And when you have somebody like OBJ who is beloved by his teammates. See, the media in New York had issues with OBJ because he had the hair and kicking of the net, and he wasn't conforming to the rules of the National Football League. Play football, get your check, be quiet. That wasn't his deal. He was living life and trying to perform at the same time. So he got a certain stigma, but the players didn't. We don't care about all that because we know who our guys are in the locker room. And then he goes to Cleveland, and it never worked out with Baker Mayfield. And a lot of players look at that as Baker Mayfield did not try to make that work. He wanted it to be about Baker, and because he wanted it to be about Baker, and it was going to be about OBJ because OBJ is a bigger star than Baker Mayfield, and that wasn't the case. And so it became one of those tug-of-wars inside the locker room. And then once OBJ was gone, then Jarvis Landry had a problem with it as well.
Yeah, you think those highlights of Baker Mayfield throwing it to random players makes Key cringe? Put highlights of Baker Mayfield trying to throw the ball to OBJ and then watch Key's face.
Yeah, we got to put a pin in this and bring it back because there's a couple of things that Key said there that definitely need to be addressed. And also one thing that we're missing about what Baker said. So we'll get back to this conversation, but we got to run here. But coming up, back to the NBA because Draymond Green might not be, as out there as some of the Baker and maybe even what Kyrie has been saying over the last year. But Draymond Green has definitely raised the bar somehow for a Warriors dynasty. Expectations already for the next couple of years. We'll discuss.